Howdy, Ken Cook with Prepared Marketing, bringing you another one of our Growth Prep Talks. I'm sitting down today with Adi Klevit. Adi runs Business Success Consulting Group, and it is a fantastic company. We work with her all the time. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
Well, so why don't you start off, tell people a little bit about who you are and what Business Success Consulting Group does.
Sure. So what we do is we help businesses grow by implementing systems and processes, basically business systems and business processes in order for the company to scale up and be able to expand.
Very
That's
cool.
what we do. Yeah.
I love that. It's such a, so it's kind of almost analogous to what we do outside of a company, you do inside of a company.
Absolutely. Yeah. You do the marketing, we concentrate more on the operation and administration and management of the company.
Beautiful. So how did you get into this? How did you get into business consulting?
So I've been doing it now for over 20 years. I started as an industrial engineer, so I worked with, did projects in big companies to increase efficiency and process improvement. And then I gravitated more towards the business consulting part of it. And I helped hundreds and hundreds of small businesses throughout my career to expand and grow.
Very cool. What motivates you to do this?
Helping the owners of a business achieve their goals and expand their businesses.
Okay. How does putting systems in place help a business grow?
Well, you know, it's running a business without systems is basically, it's a disorganized activity. You can only grow it up to a certain point, but then in order for you to grow the business, in order to organize, then you need to have systems and processes. So you're doing the same thing, things that you're doing over and over and over, you're doing it correctly in the most efficient way.
Yeah.
And the most effective way. That way you can actually hire and make sure that the people that you are hiring are doing what you're expecting them to do, and they know what to do. That's the way you create culture in the company. That's the way you basically create effectiveness and efficiency.
So really what you're saying is there's a reason a company is often called an organization.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a very good point, absolutely.
Okay, so how do you see business consultants working in general, like broad brush, with small businesses?
In terms of what?
In terms of how you go into a company
and
work with them. What's the general process? What does that generally look like?
Well, first of all, we need to do a needs assessment or general diagnostic or business analysis in order to see what is happening in the business, what are the needed processes, what exists and what doesn't exist, what do we need to implement, so we get the scope of the work and the big picture. And after that, we figure out an action plan, like a step-by-step action plan on how to implement the different processes and systems that are needed.
What does that look like for the typical owner? I mean, the typical guy, is he just getting a checklist and saying, gosh, now I got to do all these things?
Well, absolutely not. I mean, that's not realistic, and we know that being a business owner, a small, medium-sized business owner, you have so many things to do. You can't just get another checklist to do because you're not going to do that. That's why we are there working with the owners, with the key executives to actually implement what needs to be implemented, guide them, and also work with them to get it done.
So we all have heard as business owners and walking around that sphere, we hear this phrase all the time: we've got to work on your business, not in your business.
Correct.
What does that really mean? I mean, as someone who helps people, at least from my perspective, helps people work on their business.
Right.
How are you getting them to the point where they're actually doing that work?
Well, working on the business means to put in and implement the needed systems so the business will grow. So that will be, in this case, management systems. You know, you have to be able to step outside a business and be able to strategize and set up goals and figure out how to implement those goals. That is really working on the business. Working in the business means to do the day-to-day activities just to get things done, or not just, but just to get the things done that needs to be done. When you're working on the business, you're stepping out and you're putting the infrastructure. And that's what we help business owners with, is put in the infrastructure where it's needed so they can actually work in the business, so get others to work in the business in the most effective and efficient way.
How much time should the average owner be spent working on versus working in? Like I hear guys, they'll tell me, right now, 80% of my time is working in the business.
Right.
What should that really look like in a healthy company?
It really depends on the stage the business is in, because when you're starting the business, as a business owner, you will work in the business. But as the business grows more and more and more, you will be able to pull yourself out of the business, get others to work in there, and then you're working on the business in terms of managing it and providing leadership and strategizing and implementing that strategy. And it really depends on the individual owner what they want to do. Some wants to completely step out and some want to be very involved. So I can't really give you a percentage that will be the correct answer for everyone.
It really depends on where that company is and who the owner is and what they want.
Absolutely. It depends on the stage of the business is in, and what the owner wants. And that's one of the things that we assess when we do the diagnostic, because it's not a one that serves all. It has to be very personalized and very applicable to that specific business and to the needs and wants of the owner and the business.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are some common myths about business consultants?
One thing that I encounter a lot is that people try different things and it didn't work, right? And when you dig into it, it's because it wasn't applied or wasn't applied correctly, right? So that's one of the things that we learned, that we need to be there helping our clients implement, otherwise it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because there are so many distractions and so many demands, the day-to-day demands, that it's hard to also implement other tasks that you have to do. So we're there with them, making sure that those actions get implemented and then they can see the results. So that is the main thing, is to make sure that the consulting is giving you results and you're getting a return on investment. Otherwise, there isn't a point on why doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, talking about small business owners, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who's really looking to accelerate their growth?
That they seek the help that they need in terms of professionals if they feel like they cannot do it themselves, in terms of either how to provide great leadership to their team, somebody that can help them strategize, somebody that can help them implement processes and systems, definitely marketing, accounting. If you cannot do it yourself, there's only so many hours in a day, so figure out what you excel in. What do you do the best? That if you do that, you are contributing the most to the business, and the rest of it delegate and seek professional advice to help you get to where you want to be.
Perfect. All right, so continue our discussion. I want to move a little bit more and talk about how you market yourself.
Sure.
Okay, you own a business, you've owned this company now as long as I've known you.
Right.
Seems like. What's the number one way that you market your company right now?
So our number one way of marketing is through referrals and word of mouth. I mean, we have extremely satisfied clients, and they refer their friends and their colleagues and other business owners that they know. And also, we belong to several networking groups, and we do a lot of networking events, and that's the main way that we market.
Beautiful. And that's great.
Yeah.
Like, people all the time tell me you've got to go spend all this money to do great marketing. And I don't think so. I think you can do a lot of great marketing for very, very little or no money.
Right.
But where you're trading off is you're trading money for time.
Right.
Right. But would you say that in your industry, people really have to understand who you are in order to really get it?
Yes, I mean, in my industry, and especially the way we operate, it's the personal connection is very important, because we operate basically like a partner to the business owner. Mm-hmm. And we're a trusted advisor. They have to trust us. They have to see us as an advisor. So when they hear a recommendation from somebody that they trust, like a friend or a colleague or a business associate, they tend to trust more. But they have to also meet us and know who we are. And we do try to convey through our website, and we try to convey through our communications, but there is, in my opinion, there is no substitute to the one-on-one contact, and that's what we're really good at.
Beautiful. So how do you measure the quality of your company right now? What systems do you have in place that you really look at and say, my company's on the right track?
Well, we set goals, every year. So we look at those goals in terms of the number of clients, the number of projects done, the number of recurring projects, return clients, new clients, and so on. So we have specific goals, and we track them every week. And then we definitely look at it also on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis, and we see how close we are to meeting those goals. And that's how we track it.
Beautiful. Do you think most business owners are in that same habit of tracking specific measurable goals?
I can tell you 100% no.
Okay.
So there is definitely a percentage that does, but the majority of them do not, and that's one of the things that we help them with, is put in that discipline and that system of tracking those goals and tracking those numbers, because looking at those numbers is so important to measure the health of the company and how well you're doing in achieving your goals. It's basically, it's measuring the steps that you are taking in order to achieve the goal. If you do not do that, you don't know how close you are or if you're achieving it or not, and it's kind of like running blind as opposed to going in a very specific direction.
Yeah. So without talking about client names, that kind of a thing, what are some of the biggest wins, or what is the biggest win you've seen in the past year or two?
We see it constantly. When a client tells me after a meeting that, wow, this is exactly what I needed. I feel like I'm now really thinking I know what to do with my company. I know where to go. I'm really excited to put all these systems in because I know that it will create growth. So that's in the initial meeting. That's an amazing success. And after we put it in, they're using it, and I see that they use it. And you know what the biggest win is when they take the systems that we help them implement and they add on it. They add to it, and they continue to use it well after we are done with the project, because that shows that it's part of their system now. It's part of who they are. Yeah. They adapted to it, or they took it on as part of their culture, and they're continuing with it. So that creates a future for them, and it creates a whole different way to take that project into a whole different level, because they're doing so much more than just one project, but they're keeping it going in their company.
That's fantastic. So really, you're not one of these people who wants to come in and be a part of this company forever. You're coming in for a specific time, for a specific period, completing a task and moving on. Correct.
We have clients that will been with us for a very long time because they want the ongoing support and they want the ongoing advice, and and they're growing and growing and growing, so they want that help but every time it's a new challenge, it's not the same thing. So if they have that need, we are more than happy to do that, but we also do short-term projects, or projects that have a very specific beginning and end with a very specific result that we're going for, and after that, the clients will just continue implementing it. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. Normally we talk about channels and marketing channels, but I want to talk a little bit more about networking and how you gauge its success, shall we say. So you've got a few groups that you do things with, chambers, that kind of a thing, I imagine. How do you gauge the successfulness of each of those groups individually? Or do you just kind of look at it as a whole and say, this all works when I put it in this combination?
Yeah, I do look at it as a whole, and the way that I gauge the success of the networking is the people that I know and the connections that I make. It's not about going to a networking event, and that's a common mistake out there. You don't go to a networking event thinking, well, what client am I going to get? That's not the attitude, that's not the way. It's really increasing your network, and how can you help? Who can you help by being part of your network? How can they benefit by them being part of my network? Because if I bring on somebody to my network, let's say for instance, you and I, we are referral partners, very strong referral partners. You are part of my network. My clients are going to benefit by me sending them to you, by us working together on projects. So that is how I measure the success. So we met through a networking event. So I would say that networking event or that networking avenue is very successful for me because I met people that then I can refer my clients to.
Gotcha.
Then I can also be a resource, whether to refer my clients or a business resource in terms of, you help me on my marketing. And so it's really, it's definitely a win-win situation.
So what kind of CRM system do you guys use right now?
Well, we use Infusionsoft, of course, Ken.
Of course. Everyone who knows what they're doing uses Infusionsoft, as I like to say.
This is the expert of Infusionsoft. He's my expert anyway, yes.
So what have been your biggest challenges with Infusionsoft?
The biggest challenge is that it's learning it. You have to invest time in order to learn it. And there are so many functions there that honestly I don't know how to use, or I haven't spend the time using it. So I feel like I got the basics pretty well.
Yeah.
I use it as a CRM in terms of, we put our contacts in there, we tag them, we use it in order to send our newsletter, we send it in order to, we use it in order to create tasks, in order to tag the different parts of the pipeline in terms of generating opportunities off of it, but there are so much more, like the campaigns, for instance. So we have done some, but not as many as we could. So there is a lot to learn, that's for sure. It's a very robust and big system, and sometimes I'm wondering if a small company, a company on the smaller side really needs such a robust system. But on the other hand, I think it can be adjusted because I haven't found any other systems out there that I can use that will do what I need them to do, or they will do what Infusionsoft does. Right. So in some ways, I actually feel like there is a benefit to use a robust system or a bigger system or a very well-designed system, because I know that I can always just expand from there. And as the company grows, I don't have to change to another one, but I know that I will be able to use that because it just helped me expand.
Right. Well, that's been kind of our story, right? Is when I first started using it, it was just me, and now we've got 6, 7 people, and, and it still continued to serve us very, very well, and allowing us to optimize and automate more and more and more. What's the main thing you automate in your business?
Well, some of the communications, which will be the newsletter that we send out, and we have a tip series that people can subscribe to, so that will be automated. But those are the main things. We do a lot of things just on an individual basis, because the personal contact and the personal communication is very important for us. And especially in this type of business, it's very important that it's not canned or the same.
Very cool. So I guess kind of our last question as we wind down talking about marketing. What are some of the key indicators you use to judge how healthy your marketing is?
I think it's consistency. If you do things on a consistent basis, you're going to get results. So one of the things that I've seen in terms of mistakes or things that are not right, and I've done it myself as well, is like you do something and you see it works, so you get an influx of new clients, so you get an influx of business, and then you stop doing it, right? So therefore, we created some indicators, some lead indicators that we use in order to measure, like, what do we need to do, like how many meetings a week, or how many networking meetings, or how many one-to-one meetings, and so on, how many and what type of meetings and so on that you actually have to on a consistent basis do every week, or how many communications do we send out, how many newsletters, how many emails, and so on, that then you know that the interest and the influx of clients will be consistent, so you don't have the ups and downs. Because I've seen that over and over. I'm sure you've seen it too, right? You start, like, let's say you have a client, we talked about it before, you have a client, and then they you help them tremendously, because I've seen your work and I know that's what you do. So all of a sudden they get all these new clients that they always wanted, and they go, okay, Ken, I'm stopping the campaign right now because I can't deal with all these clients. But that's a mistake, because once you do that, then you go into the ups and downs of the business.
Right.
And the solution really is to organize it correctly, because you get the influx of new clients, you organize it so you can actually service them, and you on your end continue the marketing and you continue going on that.
Absolutely. Well, that's avoiding this thing
Yeah.
is one of my top goals. Like we've got a client right now that what we said is, look, my aim is not to stop these up dips, because I know that you have this cycle where you have bigger weekends than you have weekdays, and so I know you're going to look like this. But if I can make it so that it's this, and then a flat line, as opposed to, we're going really low where we can't do anything. A good thing we saved when we were all the way up here too. We're just increasing that floor. That's a big win in a lot of cases.
Yeah, totally.
So,
but do you agree that they need to organize in order to actually get, when they get all those leads in, they need to do what to do with it? And that's the key. I think that's a key point that both you and I tried before to explain many times in terms of the collaboration, because you can't do one without the other, because you have to be able to have that flat line.
Right. Well, I mean, I tell people all the time, if I came and dumped 50 clients on your lap today, what would you do? And I'm not talking 50 proposals. Maybe I'm talking 50 proposals, but let's say that you've gotten past that and you've got 50 signed clients right now. What happens?
What happens?
Right?
The business just collapses.
The business collapses because it cannot deal with actual growth. And that's where systems are so critical, to be able to say, look, we're going to hire 4 new people and we're going to slam them through training, and then we're going to start fulfilling on this.
Exactly.
Right? If we've got 100 leads, we've got a process to deal with 100 leads. If we've got 100 people saying, call me tomorrow, we've got a way to deal with that and systematize that and create meetings for all of them. They may have to wait a little while, but that's part of us just being busy.
Right. And the other way it works too, because I can go into a business and they want to get it organized, but there is there is not enough clients coming in. Then there is no point in doing all those systems, because who are they going to service? So that's where they have to promote and market and promote and get that 50 influx of the 50 new clients, and then have the problem. So it all has to work together. Yeah.
You know what's really funny is I've asked that question probably, I don't know, dozens of times now, maybe hundreds of times. No one's given me the right answer. You know what the right answer is?
What?
Increase my prices. I've got 50 new clients. What are we doing? We're increasing our prices.
Right. Well,
we're going to get rid of the people that aren't going to pay us what we're worth, and we're going to get to that next level.
Which is great, but you can still have those 50 that are going to pay you what you're worth, and then what, right?
Right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. All right. So what would you see the best thing that a small business can do starting today to really get them on a path to success?
They need to have a plan. They need to have a plan. Stop operating without a plan, and just and stop operating on, I'll write my plan someday, but right now I'm doing the day-to-day, I'm busy with the day-to-day operations. So have a real good plan that includes marketing, includes leadership, includes your operations, includes all of the aspects of a small business, and then have a step-by-step action, basically action steps to follow in order to execute that plan.
Excellent. That is such a great piece of advice. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming and sitting down with us.
Yes, well, thank you for having me.
I love having you here whenever we can.
Thank you.
If you're interested and you want to get a hold of Adi, you can find her at Business Success Consulting Group. What's your phone number if people want to give you a call?
It's 503-662-2911.
Excellent. Reach out to her. I promise you she will revolutionize your business. I've seen it done over and over and over again. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Ken.
Look forward to talking soon.
All right.